After a long 2013 tennis season, heading into the final day of the year, we may be about to see an oddity, an actual predicted outcome, as everyone pretty much assumed it would be Stepanik taking the fifth live rubber over Lajovic to win 3-2 for the Czech Republic, and this looks exactly like what's going to happen. So far, we're on the pattern of that, as Djokovic won a very tough match over Stepanik in the first rubber. Don't be fooled by that 6-1 scoreline in the second set. That was a lot closer, as Stepanik had break points to go up 2-1 in that second set. And when he went down, he kind of lost steam and a lot of energy. But he came back and made a tough third set, getting broken late in that set. He got broken late in both the first and the third set. So it's a tough struggle for Djokovic. He looked very fatigued the whole match, more mentally than physically. But the thing was, Stepanik has had a rough year, surgery to start the year, a long year. He won a couple challenger events this fall, but he's really not back to his best yet. And after a couple of weeks off, not playing in Paris or London, he looked a little sluggish to start, and throughout the match was sweating a lot, so he was struggling somewhat physically himself. By the end, actually, Stepanik was looking his best, but by then it was too late. And Djokovic, when he needed the big points, he really made himself fight. You have to give him a lot of credit. And I think he had more in the tank than it looked. I mean, he looked really fatigued, but like I said, I think a lot of it was mental more than anything. But physically as well, of course. But, there was no way. People were expecting him to play doubles, not the way he looked. No way. And, there was no other move. You can't play a guy 3 days in a row who's that fatigued. That's a ridiculous thought. And I was shocked by so many people wondering why he didn't play doubles on Saturday. As far as one interesting point about the ball, I wasn't sure how this Dunlop Fort clay court ball was going to play on an indoor hard court. And it was a little bit lighter and a little quicker through the air, which I expected. What I didn't expect was the dead bounces. I expected it would maybe be a more absorbing ball and stay a little lower because it's not as hard and jumpy as the head ball or the other hard court balls like the Wilsons. So, but more than that, it kind of had a odd dead bounce. At times, if it caught these courts are very sanded heavily. But there's a layer of PVC carpet under the acrylic. So that kind of deadens the bounce, the PVC carpet. But the heavy sanding can kind of make the ball jump. So at times the Dunlop Fort clay court ball was jumping a bit, but no matter what happened, it was a dead kind of a bounce. And other times it just literally was dying and just staying low. And, Stepanik used it very wisely. It really worked to Stepanik's advantage. That's another reason he made that match so close. He really kept slapping the ball, keeping it low, moving it around, keeping Djokovic on his toes. But, Djokovic's gotten very good at the trickier parts of tennis. And I think he has some new people on his team this fall. And they've really looked into conditions more, I think, and other things. Because he's played so smart this fall. And against Nadal in London. And again, even against Federer those couple times. Because Federer was playing very smart. And against Stepanik, one of the smartest guys on tour and one of the best indoor players, and using that ball wisely, Djokovic did it right back to him, slapped it around a bit, didn't always go for power, took some pace off, angles, mixing it up. But in the end, Djokovic has the more power, and he physically still looks pretty strong and looks stronger than Stepanik. And when he had to, he put down the big serve, put down the hammers on the big point. So that's what happened there. But then you say to me, well, Drew, then why wasn't he going to play the doubles? Well, he looked exhausted mentally to me. He looked like he needed a day off if we really expected him to beat Berdych. Yes, he usually beats Berdych, but Berdych is no joke. Berdych is a very top player and a great talent. And I think to ensure that victory, Djokovic needed off on Saturday, and that's what he got. Now, and I don't even know if he plays, they win anyway, but we'll get to that in a second. Stepanik looks good to go. He kind of got his body and everything going a lot better as the match went on, so he's ready for the rest of the weekend. None of this really applies in the next match with Berdych and Lajovic. This is simply a young guy who's never played a live rubber before. It was very clinical by Berdych. A break each set, 3 straight sets. This is the newer type of Berdych, who's very veteran, very professional now. He just can't quite get over the hump of the top guys. But other than that, yeah, he took control, did what he had to do. Lajovic didn't play bad, but just, doesn't have enough power. This isn't his kind of court. It's a little too slow, and he's not even that great at indoors. I mean, it's just too much. And Berdych is, way above him. But Lajovic's having a great year, and he showed why. Now on the doubles, again, I'll get back to this again. Everybody complaining about no Djokovic, and then because of that, everybody was going off about, oh, Bozojak is so bad, and Bozojak blew this and blew that. Let me tell you something. Zimonjic is a great doubles player throughout his career, but he's 37 years old, and he is faltering now. His serve has gone down. His reflexes have gone down. He had some terrible volleys. He had some nerves at different points, especially at the end. He really was stiff to start. And I think it was more Zimonjic is the reason they didn't win, not Bozojak. Now, Bozojak's not the greatest doubles player, but he's not bad. And, Zimonjic is supposed to be the doubles guy. He's supposed to be the leader. Like Stepanik is the leader of Berdych. If Stepanik doesn't play well, then they're in trouble. So it's Zimonjic has to step up. And I'm not faulting him. He's doing the best he can. He's getting old. And that's a lot of what it was. And more than anything, Berdych and Stepanik played fantastic. It's as simple as that. And I'm telling you right now, if Djokovic played with Zimonjic or Bozojak or whoever you wanted to throw out there, it would have been a difficult situation for them. And if Djokovic's wasting his energy out there Saturday, losing anyway when he could be resting, what a nightmare that would have been. So congrats to the Serb coach. I'm not going to even try to say his name, but he's going to take a lot of heat for this, and he shouldn't. I think it was a great move. We'll never know for sure, of course, but I think it was a great move. I agreed with him 100%, and I'm sure Novak had a lot to say about that, saying, look, I need the rest. I need a day off. And now he's almost assured, in my mind, of beating Berdych on Sunday today. Anyways, moving on, and sorry Bozojak for taking so much heat from people. It's ridiculous in my opinion. But then let's also talk some positive. Stepanik, fantastic. Berdych right with him. What a great team. Great job those guys did. Now for today, well, let's take a look real quick. Serbia has come back in their 2010 only win ever of the Davis Cup. In the semifinals, as you see here, Djokovic won that fourth rubber, and the comeback was completed by Tipsarevic over the Czech Republic. Djokovic lost the first set to Berdych that year. This is the 2010 semifinals, but he won the next 3 sets. In the final that year, he did the same thing on Monfils, actually swept Monfils 3-0, and then Troicki finished the deal over Lodra. And then this year, in the semis, Djokovic did a 3-set sweep of Raonic. Tipsarevic finished the deal there. The difference this year, no Tipsarevic, no Troicki. That's a problem. I think with the rest now, Djokovic is set to go. One other thing. Last year, in the quarterfinals, Berdych did win the fourth rubber over Tipsarevic, 6-6 and 6, 3 tiebreaks. So he was the man then and led the Czech Republic into the finals last year as they're trying to repeat this year as champs. But there was no Djokovic, and Tipsarevic was a different matchup than Djokovic, and that was on clay as well. So this slow, low-bouncing indoor court, Djokovic even said it's a lot slower than London. Well, he's right, but it's also lower bouncing, so the points are kind of quicker because you got to watch out. The high bounce is what it's all about. No court is that fast anymore, so it's about the high bounce. Paris and London were faster, especially Paris, but Paris was high bouncing. London a little lower bouncing, but still pretty high. This is very lower bouncing than both. So slow, but you can take advantage of it offensively. Stepanik really was doing that, but Djokovic was very good back at him. So the way this Dunlop Fort clay court ball is playing, just dead bounces and staying low a lot if you want to play it that way, I think Djokovic is going to totally take advantage of this over Berdych. Going to keep it low, going to move it around, get Berdych off balance. And, of course, having the day off, Djokovic will have the energy to do all that. And Berdych is going to now be the guy who might be a little tired playing 2 days in a row, because he's had a lot of tennis coming in. And I think Djokovic's going to get him. I don't even know how close it's going to be. I think it's 3 close sets or 2 close sets, but I think it's going to end up being 3 sets. I doubt Berdych will even take a set. I have a feeling it's just going to be that way. And then the last one, well, is there any chance? First of all, maybe we'll see Bozojak because he has a bigger serve. Lajovic is not great at a slow, indoor, low-bouncing court. I would like him better in a faster, higher bouncing, something on clay, maybe something outdoors. But he's going to give it his all. He's going to make Stepanik work. But in the end, he's probably going to lose the big points just like he did against Berdych. So maybe Bozojak will get in there instead, and the captain implied that he could do that because Bozojak has the bigger serve and more power. But even then, Stepanik's going to reduce that with the slow, low bounces. So either way, this is all Stepanik's unless the old man gets hurt in the middle of the match. He's an old man. But I think he's looking good. As the doubles match went on, that's another reason, by the way, I want to say that they won their doubles. It's because Berdych and Stepanik both had played on Friday, and Boltojak and Zimic, actually Gimelstob pointed this out. It was a great point. Boltojak and Nemejek were still getting used to the conditions too. So a stiff Nemejek, a little bit nervy Boltojak, though I thought it was overrated how people were getting on him. Anyways, and then the fact that neither of them had played yet and were getting used to the conditions. But anyways, back to Stepanik. He's looking really good now. I think his body's fired up again. He's got a couple weeks off. He was a little sluggish. Now he's into it again. He's ready to go to the last match of the year. I think actually Djokovic and Stepanik are both going to play great. No injuries. I don't think it's going to happen now for either one. I thought maybe that could happen earlier this weekend, but not now. The way it looks now, it's going to be after all the unpredictable stuff this year and the crazy stuff that happens in tennis all the time, we're going to have something happen exactly the way everybody saw it. Stepanik in the fifth live rubber. I think Lajovic's going to keep it close because his confidence is good right now, but he just doesn't have the skill set for these conditions. And I think this ball is probably going to do him in. But I know why they did it. This ball's a little easier on the body, to be honest, and the rallies won't be as long. And I don't know. Maybe they should have went head ball. I mean, that would be interesting. I'd love to ask Djokovic and the team about that after. But this isn't really about the ball. I mean, those are little details. This is about a guy, Lajovic, who just doesn't have the experience, and Stepanik has a load of experience. Now, lastly, I want to say one other thing about the Czechs. Why do they do so well on the road in Davis Cup? I meant to point this out in my preview. They actually have very few weaknesses, and I'm talking about Berdych and Stepanik. If those two play, I mean, they don't have a lot of depth. Rizol and Hajek, these guys aren't bad, but really, it's the Berdych-Stepanik team. And these guys can play anything from a slower clay to a faster indoor carpet kind of thing, anything. They can play. Now, we don't get any super extremes anymore. You can't go too fast, and nobody plays really slow. We're not going to play on mud with bad bounces like the old days. So everything's towards the middle anyway, but on the extreme ends of the middle, the Czechs are very flexible, have a lot of variety, can do a lot, including Berdych. He shockingly has a lot of variety, this guy. He's a great athlete, underrated, I think. And Stepanik, of course. So it's hard for the away, besides their experience, it's hard for the home team like Serbia or any other home team against the Czechs to get a surface that will really hurt them, because there's not much you can do to hurt them. And if you go too far, you hurt yourself. What's Serbia going to do? Make like a real muddy clay, make it super slow? Well, that's going to hurt them. Or get even that head ball is going to be too slow for Djokovic being tired right now. So it's very interesting. And then if you go super fast, well, the Czechs can probably handle the speed, a faster court, better than probably Djokovic and Tipsarevic and these guys. So the bottom line is the great variety of those two Czech players, Berdych and Stepanik, really makes it hard. And that's a big reason they do well on the road, besides their experience, which everybody knows about. Okay, so we'll look for the same thing everybody thought out of this crazy year. We're going to have a predicted finish, I think. It's going to be Stepanik in the fifth. We'll be back for a wrap.